Hi. I'm going to do some wood burning today. I'm Joanna Walatalo, and I'm going to try to walk you through a little bit of the process that I go through when doing a wood burning. So, here we go. The first step that I do is I get some pieces of scrap wood. Um, Almost all of the wood burning that I do is on scrap wood to build environmental ethic into each piece. And so the scrap wood comes in different types and different sizes. This is a cut off end of a piece of cedar, and cedar burns fairly well, but you have to be careful and have good ventilation because it does have some toxins in the wood that some people can develop allergies to. Those toxins in the wood are what gives it its really nice scent and repels insects and rot. So it has some nice little chemical compounds in it that makes it smell pretty. Really nice scent for burning, but you do want good ventilation. You don't want to breathe too much of the smoke when you're burning cedar. And then this is a piece of maple. A lot of the pieces that I get, because they're scrap wood, they have defects in them. So this has some stain, a defect here where the wood is actually missing from rot. This piece I sanded a while back, but one of the problems with sanding too far ahead of time is that it'll still get bleached by the sun. So there was another board in the stack on top of it, and you can see where it became discolored from sunlight. So I'll have to go back through and re-sand this piece if I choose to use it today, or before I use it, to get rid of the color change just from exposure to sunlight. But other than that, it's already been sanded. It's nice and smooth. So this is just going to be a little touch-up on sanding. And what I typically do is I have a lot of different reference photos and a lot of different pieces of wood. So I organize my reference photos based on who has given me permission to use their photos. I have a lot of my own as well. And then I work with different local wildlife photographers and use their reference photos as well. So what I try to do is I try to find an image that will work well on the piece of wood that I have. Either that, or for custom orders, I try to find a piece of wood that will work well with the image that I've been given. This particular picture of a great blue heron probably will not fit that well on this piece of wood. I could probably make it work, but I'd probably want something a little bit more square in shape to fit the reflection well. Nice. This is very vertical. This may fit well on the more vertical piece of wood that I have, but then I need to figure out how to incorporate these defects into the image as well. That might look interesting, almost like the song coming out of the beak of the bird if I put the bird right here. So that might work. So I think this cute little baby bald eagle will probably fit really well on this piece of wood. And I'm going to orient the wood so that this knot is up at the top. It gives kind of the impression of a sun in the background. And I've already sanded this. So my first step is I'm going to just take a regular pencil and sketch out the baby bald eagle on the piece of wood. here you can see I have it sketched out. I do everything freehand, I don't trace, I didn't do it exactly the same. Compositionally, the phantom sun from the knot is right up above its head, so I'm not going to do the tree branch there because we already have something compositionally there. My sketches, I don't actually do shading in the sketches because I end up erasing all my pencil marks afterwards or as I'm burning. But I basically do an outline between any dark and light, and this gives me a guide for where I'm going to burn dark versus where I'm going to burn light. So you can see here, like, the little eyebrow over top of the eye is lighter. So I kind of outline that so that I have a guide of where to burn lighter and where to burn darker. So it's basically getting my composition down so that I have the overall shape, the proportions the way I want it. I didn't follow exactly the same since I didn't trace. My wood burning is going to be a little bit larger than my reference photo, and I shortened the leg a little bit so that the foot will fit more on the wood. So it is modified a little bit from the reference photo. I did not go into any particular detail in the nesting material. I did some of the main grasses that you can see so that I can get some orientation going there, so that I in my head know what I'm doing, but I didn't go through and do every single one of them or anything. Another interesting thing, because this is a young bald eagle, it's not quite to the fledgling stage, but they photographed it when they were banding it. And so you can see the band on its leg. That's an identification marker so that they can tell where it goes. Any birder with binoculars can read the band if they have good enough binoculars or get close enough, and then report back in where it is and where it goes over its lifetime. It's not quite to the point of flying yet. You want to band them before they're ready to jump out of the nest and fly away, but it is getting those flight feathers. And these are like little straws that the feathers develop in. They're called a feather sheath. And you can see the feathers emerging, and these little, they look like straws, will kind of flake off and fall apart and the feather emerges. But when they're at that stage, those feather sheaths are holding the living feather that's developing, and they're full of blood. So they're really delicate at that stage. And you can see I drew the outline between the light and dark for the feather sheaths there as well to give me a guide. So at this point, I don't think I've used my eraser at all, but it's just a standard pink eraser for the wood. And I will erase as I'm burning. Right before I burn, I typically try not to go over the pencil with the wood burner, because if I do a light shading anywhere, with the wood burner over top of the graphite pencil, then I tend to have a really hard time erasing the graphite after I've burnt over it. So I tend to erase right before I burn, but it still leaves that image in my mind of where the pencil marks were, and I can see the pencil marks all around me to be a guide. Also, when I'm doing really detailed work like around the eye, I typically will burn right up to the pencil line, but then leave the pencil line unburned so that I can erase it. Then I might go in and add a little bit more detail after I erase. Either that, or sometimes when it's really, really, really dark, I will burn completely over my pencil line if I'm burning really dark, because then you can't see the pencil marks at all. But if it's left out in the sun and the wood burning fades, the pencil marks will show through afterwards. That takes a couple of years if it's not protected from sunlight. So we'll do a little close-up here because I realize that it's harder to see when I have the camera up higher and on time-lapse. You can see that the wood grain, the late wood, does not burn as well as the early wood. And so you get the stripes from the wood grain across. I can go back through and touch that up. You have to be really detailed and touch up just along the lines there. But we're starting to get the personality to come out. I usually start with the focal point, which in this case is the face, and kind of capturing that very unhappy look of what are these aliens doing in my home when people climb up and take pictures in the nest. And yeah, so I haven't even started erasing any pencil marks yet. I think that will be my next step, is to take the eraser and erase the little bits of pencil marks that are showing through here, and then go for the body. But that gives you an idea of how I start the wood burning and how I focus on the focal point first. I'm using a Coalwood Super Pro 2. And I primarily, for the wood burning, will use the shading tip. And then when I get done, I'll use the drawing tip to sign my name. So those are the two tips for the wood burner that I use. And right now I'm using the heavy duty side. For the last few years, I've used the detailed side, but the tip of the cord for the detailed side is actually starting to come apart on me where I plug it in. So I'm having difficulty with this. So I switched over to using the heavy duty side. When I use the detailed side, I typically burn between 5 and 6 for the heat regulator. Now that I'm switched over to using the heavy-duty side, I'm typically burning between 4 and 5. And I do small adjustments, but not much in between that temperature range. So we'll get back to the wood burning. this point, I have to make some decisions. I had put a line here for the horizon line, and there's a lot more going on in the actual picture than what I think I'll put in the wood burning. So, looking just at the wood burning as a standalone picture and not following the reference photo, I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to finish off a little bit on the nest here and not worry about the background or the horizon. I think that will work as a wood burning and a standalone picture without adding too much. Now, some of the artwork that you've seen from me is a lot more detailed, and I'll get really into like every little feather and do very, very detailed backgrounds. This is what I consider a warm-up burn. I tend to do one of these before I do really high quality wood burning. And this is just to get me in the mindset of doing the artwork. So these usually take me an hour or two in the morning to do a warm-up before I get into a larger picture. And that works really well because these I sell for much less than the really super high detailed ones. And there's a good market for them. They're affordable for a small original piece of artwork that you can hang in your camp or your living room or kitchen. And they're fun. So I'm not going to worry too much. Like I mentioned, I could go back through and darken up these lines. I probably will in the face, just because that is your focal point where you're looking the most. But I probably won't worry about it so much in the rest of the wood burning. I'll probably just finish this up, add a little bit more detail in the face, sign it, and call it good. So, this is my nice little warm-up wood burning for the morning. Very, very cute, distressed little young bald eagle still in the nest. Reference photo by Kathy Koenig. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more videos where I explain a little bit more in the videos, let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate your feedback as to whether you prefer just like the time-lapse video watching doing the artwork versus where I take a break and explain what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, or a little bit about the animal and the background and whatnot. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.